State went 70 yards on that first drive. They led 7-0. The Braves on the second drive started at their own 10, and they had a 3rd and 5 from their own 15. So that capped off a 90-yard drive in 14 plays.
Really an impressive drive by the offense, and again, some big plays there. Nice job on the bubble. John to Marquise right there. He turned the Jets on there and got us down there in scoring position. And just a good drive, really. Coach Kyson offense did a tremendous job there.
So it was a 7-7 game. Then Alabama State coming right back at you. They got in the Braves territory. 2nd down and 6 from Alcorn 7. So it's back and forth. When you look at it, Jay Hopson, you burned a couple of timeouts in the game on defense.
Yeah, I burned them early too, Charles, because of, just the issues we were having, just fitting our gaps, and just settle down. There's the message there, and do your job. And I think we were just a little haywire coming out the first 2 drives. And again, credit to our guys on defense. We have some older guys, and we got them on the bench, and they began to. We drew it up. They began to see it, and they adjusted nicely.
Late first quarter, the Braves with 105 left in the first started at their own 14-yard line. Jarvis Turner a 17-yard reception, and that took us to the end of the first. So at the end of one, Jay Hopson, back and forth, first quarter. Talk about the middle, because obviously you talked about it against Georgia Tech. They kind of got us in the middle, and then the first touchdown for Bama State up the middle.
Well, it really wasn't so much. I think against Georgia Tech, we really just got moved out of our gap. Here it was just, at times we got to fit our right gaps, and sometimes it's from the second level, from the linebackers, and it's just one of those deals where we just didn't fit right, and it happens in football, and but the impressive thing is the guys adjusted. They saw it and improved on it, and after the second drive, it was a pretty stellar game by the defense too, and but just first 2 drives, man, it was porous.
Yeah, it was back and forth for sure. We'll take a timeout here. 12 minutes after 6 o'clock. When we come back, we'll look at the second quarter highlights. We'll take your phone call 601-877-6595, 601-877-6595. Football at alcorn.edu, and I'm also, for the first time in my life, and I don't know how long it's going to last, I'm on Facebook, Charles Edmond, and my Twitter handle, Jay Hopson, Tall Man Radio.
That's an appropriate handle.
Came up with it on the way. I said, what the heck, go with it.
That's very fitting handle, and there's no question.
And it's really interesting, just looking at all the nuances. Of course, I'm finally in the 21st century on that stuff. Instead of fax machines and whatever, I'm finally with that. So send me a tweet. We'll take a time out here 13 minutes after. We'll be back with the second quarter. Your questions, comments a little bit later. We'll preview Valley. Back in 1 minute on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. and I really didn't want to.
What's that?
I really didn't want to do it, but Cedric kept talking to me about it. I said, and it's good information.
It's on social media?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, for us, it's just really tweeting because of recruiting.
Yeah.
If it's not business, I'm not going to be on social media.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just because,
Yeah.
It's good, but it's also, everybody's going to call you, and you get time to text everybody back or call everybody back, and that's the thing too. It's kind of like email. After a while, if you get bombarded, you're just like,
Yeah. I see my cell phone's going off with these friends requests.
Yeah. See, and what happens is they're gonna start trying to communicate with you. Like you ain't got. Then they're gonna think you're a jerk for not getting back with them.
All right, welcome back. 14 minutes after 6 o'clock here on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. I want to welcome everybody listening on the Alcorn Football Radio Network, WPRL, here the flagship station, 91.7 FM, Alcorn Public Radio, WMIS, WTYJ in Natchez, also WKJN and WAZA in Centerville, Liberty, and V105.5 in Vicksburg, as well as WGDQ 93.1 in Hattiesburg. Welcome everybody here to the Jay Hopson Radio Show. 2 days after the big win at Bama State, got to get ready for Valley, a team that we saw this past Thursday against Southern on national television, so we'll be talking about that. We talked about it a little bit, 14-14 game in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Jay Hopson, and we probably had more false start penalties. We probably had 4 games worth of false start penalties Saturday night.
Yeah, we had way too many. So at the end of the day, I mean, those are things that you got to correct, and it's just you don't want to see penalties, but it's part of the game. We just got to get better this week.
Well, look at the second quarter. The Braves 3rd and 8 from the 33-yard line, Gibbs to McKenzie. I thought Tip had a pretty solid game.
Tip did. He played well, and I thought John threw the ball extremely well. I thought we had some good precision there.
So Jordan Payne got involved with a 10-yard reception. The Braves had it 1st and goal, then 2nd and goal. There was no doubt about that one.
Well, it was good to just get on it, just to take any doubt out of it. So it was a heads-up play by Aaron. Just fought to be in there, Johnny on the spot, fall on the ball to just ensure it. So good job. Another good drive by the Oak.
14-14 left, 14-14 in that second quarter. Then as we move forward, 9:42 left in the second. The 3 Alcorn penalties on the next Bama State drive, and they were forced to punt. The Braves' next drive started at their own 27 with 7:20 left in the first half. Gibbs a loss of a yard, Ragsdale for 5. Then it was a 4th down and 1, Jay Hopson, and maybe what I thought, and looking at the play-by-play sheet, maybe the biggest play of the game. You went for it, 4th and 1, it's your own 36-yard line. Talk about that.
Well, we just felt like we had it, and again, that's what we're gonna do sometimes. So at the end of the day, great job by John, Coach Kice, the offense, staff, and a big conversion.
Yeah, 4th and 1, a big pickup there, and they pick it up, and the drive continues. They picked up 2 third downs. They converted 2 third downs to let George with a 26-yard reception. Got to Alabama State's 11. And with 1:12 left in the first half, there was a 4th and 5 from Bama State 6, a false start. 4th and 10 coming up, Hayden McRaney on for a field goal attempt. That was a solid drive despite the adversity.
Again, another good drive. I thought the offense had some tremendous drives in the first half. Really did, and that gave us a 3-point lead in a seesaw football game. So impressive stuff by those.
Then you're trying to preserve some seconds, calling a timeout, and And we're going to pick this up. And again, it was serious at the time, but just take a look at this or listen to this as we're heading into the locker room. Of course, you normally give a little spiel on the first half. Let's pick it up right here. You were talking about that all the way up to the tunnel.
Well, it was, you know, it's one of those deals where we had them backed up on the goal, you know, close to their goal line. It gives us a chance to, you know, take a chance for a block or rush. And you know, 7 seconds, you can't take a knee and kill the clock out. You have to do something on fourth down, and it gives us a chance. Even if he shanks a punt, gives us the ball back, you know, but it's one of those deals where with 2 seconds, you can snap it to the quarterback and just, you know, 1, 2, and take a knee. You know, we can get there in 3 seconds, and it's our ball. You can't do that with 7 seconds left. So just the rundown of the time, you know, because we called timeout as soon as the play ended. I mean, as soon as it hit the ground, it was timeout. And, you know, my argument was, you know, the seconds just ran off, you know, down to 2 before the clock was, you know, stopped. So, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Go in the dressing room and get rid of the second half.
What was the explanation given?
You know, Charles is, you know, again, you know, I think on the field, I guess it was just 2 seconds was the explanation given, but, you know, again, I didn't really have a clear understanding because we called the timeout. It was, you know, it was more than 2 seconds on the clock.
Well, despite all that, you go into the locker room with the lead. Talk about you know, what you told your team at halftime.
Well, I think the biggest thing was adjustments. You know, I think defensively we had to shore some things up. Offensively, we were doing fine, you know, and I think defensively we just needed to, you know, we needed to draw it up and show them what they were doing to us. And I think once, you know, again, they did well in the second quarter, but then when you get them in halftime and you're able to show them a little bit, you know, now all of a sudden, you know, as a group, they all begin to see what's happening. And, you know, I thought they came out the second half and adjusted well.
All right, so we'll take a time out here. We'll look at the third quarter highlights. 21 minutes after 6 o'clock here on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. Alcorn and Mississippi Valley coming up on Saturday. We'll take this 1-minute break and we'll be right back on the Alcorn Football Radio Network. All right, welcome back. 22 minutes after 6 o'clock here on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. Glad you can join us online or on the radio, however you may be listening to us tonight. Give us a call, 601-877-6595, 601-877-6595. The Alcorn State University 8 Club Hall of Fame induction ceremony and dinner will be held Friday, September 18th at the Vicksburg Convention Center, and that's in downtown Vicksburg. It's $50 per person for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. There are 15 great individuals that will be inducted, and we'll talk about that throughout the course of the program. All right, Coach Hopson, as we look at the third quarter highlights, Bama State started at their own 25-yard line. They got to their own 39, and they were forced to punt. All right. Is that something worth even mentioning?
Well, again, it's hard. I couldn't see. I guess they thought he didn't have the possession of the ball, and maybe he didn't. I don't know. So I think, again, it's hard to see it on the field.
Just what amazes me is how we were able to play through all of that stuff, all the penalties. There was a time, it was the second half, there were 5 plays, on 5 straight plays, there was at least a penalty, sometimes 2 penalties.
Well, the kids really battled and fought hard. This was probably the most impressive defensive stand is after the turnover. I think this is when the defensive line began to take over the football game. I just think they started to impose their will on this drive, and then it stayed for the rest of the game. And if anything, that almost was you look back on the game, and really that was 2 things I think that really ignited our defense. One was the tackle, when DA tackled the kid, he kind of dragged out of bounds, and he got the personal foul call. And then this drive on the fumble punt, I think, looking back, those 2 things really fired up our defense, and they took it to another level after that.
And with that turnover, Bama State had it from the Brace 32-yard line. They got to the 27, and then it was a 4th down and 5 from the 27. And here's how the defense, maybe the sequence of the game, right here. We had 3 sacks in the game, Jay Hopson. Just talk about who stepped up and made that sack.
That was Kenyon Bradley, actually, and Mike Brooks had a tremendous game rushing the quarterback, and Mike, I think, had 3 sacks on the night. Kenyon played a close to perfect game as far as assignment football, so he was our defensive player of the week. But Mike Brooks very easily could have been that player of the week because Mike made a lot of highlight plays, and I thought Darren Moody battled. I thought really in Rowe, Rowe was having a great game till the defensive line was hitting so hard they were knocking each other out. Stacy knocked Rowe out of the game. Rowe got knocked out by his own player.
Yeah.
But they amped it up, and that's good to see. Stacy's been with Rowe all day today. I think he feels bad about the hit. He laid one on him right there, but at the end of the day, they really amped it up and started playing some tough, brave football.
As you look at Alabama State's offense, obviously Daniel Duhart did not play in the game, and you look at their running back that have made some plays. Just give us your thoughts on their offense and what you saw from them.
Well, they have a lot of weapons. Khalid Thomas, number 7, is, of course, I'm better with numbers and names, but 7 is really a good player. One, the wide receiver, he's an electric guy. And again, they're athletic at the quarterback position, and of course we played against Duhart in the last couple of years, but they're also, 3's an athletic quarterback, and he gutted us early on a couple of drives, so they're an athletic football team, always have been.
26 minutes after, let's go to the phone lines. Willie Jones joins us from Mobile, called us the last couple of weeks. Good evening. Doing fine.
Hey, Willie, how's everything? Great.
Well, I'm glad everything turned out okay.
Right. Right. Well, really, this is going to sound funny, Willie. Nothing. We just really began to. I think the kids just saw it. Sometimes, you know, when you get out there, you're fired up, lights are on, you're just ready to go. And sometimes, you know, you don't settle down and you know, play assignment football. And I think we really didn't do anything different. I think what happened was that they just began to, you know, sometimes that's the way football goes. It's a fast game and things happen real quick and real fast. And I think sometimes when you settle down a little bit, you start to play faster than when you're amped up. And I think that's really kind of all they did. They just kind of began to see, okay, this was the missed assignment here, and we got it corrected. And in the second quarter on, they began to play solid football. You're welcome, Willie. Thank you, Willie.
All right, Willie, thank you very much. I'm glad you got that taken care of and made it back safely. That's a 166-mile trek up 65 from Montgomery to Mobile.
True. You're a true brave, Willie. We appreciate it, man. Thanks, Willie. Look forward. Okay.
All right, thank you, Willie. He was definitely brave enough, everything he had to deal with there.
He was overcoming it all.
Yeah. All right, we appreciate Willie Jones with the call. We'll take a time out here as we approach the bottom of the hour, halfway through the Jay Hopson radio show. And we'll take this break here, and we'll be right back after this 1-minute timeout on the Alcorn Football Radio Network. All right, it's the bottom of the hour. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Alcorn Football Radio Network. Halfway through the Jay Hopson radio show on this Monday night, Alcorn and Mississippi Valley at 4 o'clock. And they're getting the stadium ready to go. They're doing all the cleaning, and looks like it's going to be a pretty good day. We had some cool days, but it's starting to warm up. Looks like we'll get back into the 90s.
Yeah, it's a little heat wave. I think it's coming back in.
All right, as we look at the third quarter, we didn't get to the highlight. After the D held, the Braves really put some distance between themselves and the Hornets, as Ragsdale with a touchdown right here to give the Braves a 2-score lead. He stepped over somebody, don't know who, but that was a good run by Rags.
That was good. Great call by Coach Kais, great run by Rag, and touchdown Braves.
So at that point, the Braves with the lead of 24-14, and then they got another touchdown here to salt it away as Tillett George put the icing on the cake. Tillett George put the icing on the cake, and just talk about his comeback.
I thought Tonka played really well. He had a big game Saturday night. He really did. Made some big plays. That was a pretty ball John threw, and nice catch, and he caught it and then accelerated after he caught it into the end zone. But again, I thought he had a big game.
For all the talk, what didn't happen in the first game, boy, you talk about making up for it, over 300 yards passing.
Yeah, John played a really good football game, and just, you know, he played the football game that John Gibbs plays. I mean, that's what he's done around here for the last couple of years, and that's what we need out of John.
The Braves win going away 31-14, and following the game, Cedric Tillman got a chance to catch up with John Gibbs. All right, that's Cedric Tillman talking to John Gibbs, 26 of 33, 305 yards and a touchdown. Talk about how the offensive line and how they performed.
Did tremendous. I thought the offensive lines played, well last week too. But John threw the ball tremendously Saturday, and just a great performance by the line. John, the running backs. I thought offensively we really played well. I thought the receivers caught the ball well. We had some critical third down catches that were impressive. Jordan Payne played well. Tip McKenzie, as we mentioned, Tip played well. Marquise made a few big things happen outside. Tonka made some big plays. Charles Hughes blocked well on the perimeter in the receiving game. And I know I'm probably missing a few others. Brandon Bessel, Brandon comes in there and just what a great team player Brandon is. Comes in and does whatever it takes. But again, it was Jarvis, had the big kickoff, and Jarvis had some key catches. So, I thought a good job by the O, and it was one of those games. It was a pretty good job all around.
When you look at it, Coach, the one thing, the penalties, we had double-digit penalties in game one. We had 15 for 111 in game two. Anything to worry about there?
Well, you don't ever like that, but especially, some penalties, you put more emphasis on. Some are kind of touch and go, and you're just like, you're not always going to agree with every penalty as a coach, even after you watch the film. There's some that you're just not going to agree with. It's kind of like the kickoff. Even though he's blocking the kicker, he's in front of him blocking him, in my opinion. But guess what? That's just my opinion. So it doesn't really, But again, it's there's some like the offsides in those things you got to correct. Sometimes there's penalties when you're playing hard and things happen that you understand. Jumping off sides or legal procedures, those things. Flagrant, holding when you're outside the body of the framework. You don't want any of that stuff. But it's it's part of football. But we got to clean that up. It's like you mentioned with the legal procedures. So that's just way too many.
Those pre-snap penalties, as they call them.
That's right. Yeah, the pre-snap penalties. And again, it's and some of them are touch and go. Like So you just when they're playing, sometimes as a coach, you don't always agree, but and then sometimes you do agree. There's a couple times you say, yeah, that for sure was holding, or that for sure was a personal foul, or that for sure was this. So that's just part of football.
And the one call that, I saw it in the scrimmages that we had here on campus, the officials called it even in the scrimmage, and it happened to us a couple of times, because teams are working the edges out in space, the holding on the receivers. That's always a tough call for me to swallow.
Yeah, and there's probably 50% of them you probably agree with, and 50% of them you don't agree with. And I think that whether it's coaches or officials, we'd probably all say the same. Because you look at, there's some that you're going to argue he's way inside the framework, and the rule, he's got to leave where you can see the separation. And it's one of those deals where those are the penalties that I call touch and go penalties that, you could sit there and argue that's a clean block. you know, and then there's going to be some time you're going to say, oh, well, no, that got held right there. But it's a, you know, those are, you know, it's just part of football. But we don't want any penalties. You know, that's something we emphasize. You know, we want it to, you know, and we work on that. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, Charles, certainly something we've got to get better at.
And, you know, when you look at last year, I mean, 20 penalties in the first 2 games. We've been so good in that category. Last year, that was probably, what, 3 or 4 games worth, and then double digits here in the first couple of games. We're going to take a timeout here. We'll break down the numbers. We talked about Gibbs, 300 yards passing. The running game was effective. We'll talk about that, the receivers, and the defensive stars. And then we'll get Jay Hopson. He talked about it a little bit, offensive, defensive, and special teams player of the week. We'll get to that coming up here on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. Give us a call, 601-877-6595. Send us an email, football@allcorn.edu. You can follow me on Facebook at Charles Edmond or on Twitter at Tallman Radio. We'll take a time out. We'll be right back after this on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. Did you know Coach Hugh in Vicksburg? His first name was...
it was just he passed away just a couple weeks ago.
See, they named the press box after him.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Hope you have some memories of him.
I didn't play for him. I went across town. I was at Warren Central. Me and William Prince, we both played out of Warren Central.
All right, welcome back. 40 minutes after the hour. 601-877-6595. Football at allcorn.edu. The Jay Hopson Radio Show rolls on here. Let's go to the phone lines. Andre Young joining us from Natchez, listening on WMIS, WTYJ. Good evening, Andre Young.
Hey, Andre. Yep. Okay, answer the first question. Ramonte Bell, Rowe is fine. He's doing well, and you know, so but you know, he will probably, you know, we'll just see how he feels later this week. But again, there's a great report on him. Second, you know, DeLance is doing a really good job. You know, but Rag and Bake, you know, they did a tremendous job. Not only last week and the week before, but they do it every week. So right now he's number 3 in the rotation, and so it's just Andre. You know, I mean, when we get to that, you know, he got a few carries. I think he got 1 down on the goal line. He got a couple in the third, fourth quarter. So, you know, usually, you know, it's going to be Rag, Baker, but Lance is going to get some touches too. So that's just kind of the way we have our rotation going right now. Okay, Andre.
All right, we appreciate it. And that was an interesting deal there with Bell going down and, you know, with silence in the stadium. That was kind of tough.
Yeah, it was. You know, certainly that's always your biggest fear in football. But went over there and he was, you know, he had movement and was doing good. He just had a little numbness, and so we took him, you know, got him to the hospital, got him scanned and X-rayed, and you know, we're blessed. He had a good report. So you know, just you know, yeah, I think, like I said, I think Stacy felt a bit worse than anybody. I've seen them together today on campus about 3 times. So but they were both just playing hard. It was just one of those things with football, you know. And but again, Roe's a tough kid and just an exceptional young man. And, you know, he's all smiles today and doing well.
Then he went on social media. We kind of saw the response from him when we were heading home yesterday, saying that he is fine and he's on his way back and everything was good. So that's good news to report. You talked about the running game. You know, Baker with 57 yards, Ragsdale with 50. Just talk about how those two performed Saturday.
They perform well every week. You know, I mean, Rag is, again, he's a big play threat, but he's also a great blocker and does the little things right. You know, Rag's that guy that's extremely consistent. Aaron, you know, he's just a load. You know, and tough, physical running back, and you know, and Delance is. I mean, we're loaded. You know, even we got Delance and Joe and Ashton. I mean, the running back spot, we've got quite a few players there, and you know, we're really deep at that position right now.
When you look at the receiving category, Warford with 45 yards, Rags with 41, and then Tillette George, the #1 receiver on Saturday, 3 for 93, and the touchdown that sealed it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the receiving corps played well. I think they were sharp on the routes and made big plays. You know, I thought they did a pretty good job. There was a couple of times they did hold outside, but I thought for the most part they did a pretty good job out there on the perimeter blocking as well. You know, there's a couple, like I said, you could argue till you blue in the face, but at the end of the day, those are always tough judgment deals. But again, I thought they ran good routes. I thought they blocked well. They did a good job.
Talk about who stood out to you on defense.
On defense, you know, you just got to start up front. You know, Mike Brooks, you know, played tremendous. Darren Moody played tremendous. Kenya Brantley, Stacy Garner played physical. Ramonte was having a really good day. Damon Watkins always, you know, gives you a great day every time out. You know, Warren Gatewood, how tough is he? You know, I mean, just tremendous effort by Warren. You know, I mean, he you know, is just a true warrior. And you know, but I thought on the whole, you know, a lot of guys stepped up and made some plays.
I thought we played with a lot of poise, calm. You know, even though we're down 7-0 and 14-7, just from upstairs, it didn't look that way. We just went right back to work and went at it.
Yeah, it did. The guys kept plugging, and you know, we've got an experienced team. We're an older football team, so you know, that stuff's not going to bother us.
What was the most impressive thing that you came out of Saturday with?
You know, I think I like the way, you know, defensively, I like the way we had a couple things, we had a couple calls that, you know, we didn't really kind of agree with, but it amped our defense up. You know what I mean? I like the way that they took it into another gear. You know what I'm saying? So it was, you know, that was good to see.
46 minutes after, we'll take a timeout here, and we'll be right back in 1 minute. Have some information to pass along to you, and we'll get ready for Mississippi Valley. Rick Comegee coming to Spinks Chasm Stadium and his Delta Devils. They lost to New Mexico, and then on national television the other night they lost to Southern at home. Rick Comegee looked like he lost about 100 pounds. And I saw him on TV, looked slim and trim. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we come back in 1 minute on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. How are you coming with your field?
It's going.
All right, 47 minutes after the hour, the Alcorn State University A Club will meet at 2 o'clock Friday, September 18th at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Vicksburg. All A Club members are asked to attend. We talked about the Hall of Fame induction ceremony Friday at the Vicksburg Convention Center, 1 Mulberry Street, downtown Vicksburg. The cost of the event is $50 per person. Alumni and friends are asked to join Alcorn State University and the family of James Chicken Holloway on Saturday, September 19th for the unveiling of the James Chicken Holloway seat at Spinks Chasm Stadium. Holloway, a 1975 graduate and longtime supporter of Alcorn sports, passed away in July. He was one of Alcorn's first male tumblers and has been known as Alcorn's most spirited fan. That should be a very interesting deal there, Jay Hopson, because you talk about bleeding purple and gold, and he was it.
Hey, just a tremendous brain. There's no question about it.
Also, the Hall of Fame inductees for 2015, Nate Archibald. For basketball, football, Robert Bell, Harry Brown Sr., football and basketball, posthumous, Harry George Brown, baseball, O.C. Brown Sr., also posthumous, Tracy Cook, football, Eddie J. Hackett, football, Percy Harris Jr., football, Ivy Davis Jones in track, posthumously Samuel Lee Singh, Richard Sowles, football, Williams Tate Sr., football, Andrew Tatum, basketball, Dr. Johnny Thomas, football, and Alpha Sherman Young, track.
I might go down and get Tracy and some shoulder pads and get him on the bus. Might go down to Fayette. See, Coach Thomas looks like he's got a few downs left in him too.
For more information, call Davis Weathersby of the Alcorn 8 Club at 662-347-5673 or 662-332-6838. Also, our next road game will be in Little Rock the first week in October, and there will be a bus going to Little Rock, a turnaround trip. For more information, call Gerald Quinn. He had a turnaround trip to Montgomery this past Saturday, and he's got another one rolling out from Brookhaven heading to Little Rock. For more information, give him a call at 601-754-1177. That's 601-754-1177 for more details. We'll take a time out here 50 minutes after. Give us a call. We can squeeze in a call or two. We appreciate Andre Young and Willie Jones giving us a call. When we come back, we'll look at Mississippi Valley, and head coach Rick Comagee and his team will come to Spinks Castle for a late kickoff. We'll be back in 1 minute on the Alcorn Football Radio Network. I think the rest of them are two. All right, welcome back. 51 minutes after, Alcorn and Mississippi Valley. Saturday at 4 o'clock. We'll be on the air at 3:30. We're going to talk with Lee Hall of the Valley Radio Network. We're going to talk with Alcorn's defensive line coach Derek Nicholson. Talk about the job that he's done coming in from Louisville, doing his thing, and the defensive line, as you talked about, really got after it Saturday.
Derek is a tremendous coach. He's a up-tempo guy, a high-energy coach, and I think that defensive line is starting to they're starting to play to his personality. He's a really high energy guy and doing a tremendous job.
So he'll join us on the pregame show. Lee Hall, the Valley Radio Network, and at the half, we're going to talk with former Alcornite Ernest Monk Young. He's got a book out, and I saw him in Vicksburg a few weeks ago. He told me about the book. And we're going to talk about that at halftime. Of course, he was dealing with some health issues, and he's teaching over in Tallulah, and we're going to talk about that in his book coming up at halftime. You want to stick around on Saturday and check that out, and we'll post that online as well. All right, as we get into this week's opponent, we're finally at home after two tough trips, of course, Montgomery and Atlanta, up I-20 and 80, and now we're at home. We take on Mississippi Valley, our second conference game.
Valley's always a tough opponent. It's a game like John mentioned earlier. It's an in-state game. It's a rival game. So it's always a physical football game. So we know it's a 60-minute ball game. We know we're in for a full quarter battle.
when you look at the tape of the game against Southern, and I saw a little bit of it, I'll be looking at a little more of it tonight, looking at the big Monday night game, but then looking at that as well. I T-voted what I saw early from the defensive side, and you look at what Southern did. They score Willie Quinn, another special teams touchdown. But the Valley's defense kind of got after Southern early in the game, so I would imagine it'll be pretty physical.
They're aggressive. They run to the ball. It's a well-coached football team, so we know what we're in for, because it's always a hard-fought football game.
What stands out on the offensive side of the ball? They had a quarterback in the second quarter and second half. Get some things done against Southern, especially after the Jaguars got the big lead.
Yeah, the Booker kid made some big plays. He definitely did, they moved the ball, had some good drives in the second quarter. Have good skill players, good up front. I mean, Valley is always a tough opponent. That's just the way it is. And like I said, it'll be a highly charged, emotional game. It always is. So I mean, we know we got to battle that up. So.
Talk about finally getting a chance to come home.
Well, it's always good to come back to the reservation. I mean, it's just a special, place and a special atmosphere. So hopefully, we'll have a lot of Braves out here in purple and gold and pulling the guys on and just. It's good to get back home. It's good to get 2 long bus rides out of the way early.
Yeah.
So it's always good to get that knocked out. So I think we only have really one more left. It's a long one, and Texas Southern. So that's a good thing. And we got a little distance, but it's maybe not quite as far as Montgomery and Houston. But looking forward to getting back home, playing. I know the guys are excited. So just getting ready.
Is there such a thing, when you make these long bus trips back to back, is there such a thing as bus lag and trying to deal with that? That's something you have to factor in?
No, not really. No, that's just part of it. If anything, it's now when you do like we did a few years ago and do 18 hours, that's a whole other deal. But no drive. It's just 6 hours. I mean, that's not that bad. So I mean, it's just part of football. Everybody's got to do it.
When you look at it, Coach, coming home and playing Mississippi Valley, we're going to be at home for a couple of weeks, before we hit the road again. We got Concordia coming in. So this is a real good opportunity to get healthy. You don't have to hit the road. We've done that for a couple of weeks in a row to start. So a chance to be at home for at least 3 weeks before we hit the road again.
Well, I mean, we'll have some time in October for, recovering. We got battles every week, so whether we're on the road or we're at home, we know it's going to be a hard-fought Saturday. So, but it is good to be at home. It always is. But again, we've got to prepare. Whether you're away or home, it's not really going to matter when the ball's kicked off. So we got to get ready to play a ball game.
Talk about how excited the team was in the locker room in your speech to them, following the Alabama State game. I know it was good to enjoy it while it lasted, but then talk about that and getting ready.
Well, I mean, it was a good win, but we know that as of Sunday, that game's over with, and we got to move on to the next game. It's just a game, and now the biggest game of the season is this week, and so that's just the way it is in football. So each week is the biggest game, so we got our biggest game coming up.
I noticed this when we had our media day here on campus, just the maturity level, veteran ball club, senior quarterback, and how they're all together and just handling things as it comes, not getting too high or too low. As I said in the pregame the other day, another week in the grinder, and it's a grind every week. This is another one coming up. It appears through the first couple of weeks the team has handled that part of it pretty well, not talking about what's happened in the past. Deal with today, tomorrow, whatever the case.
Well, you have to in football. I think that's just part of football. You got to get ready for the next week, because what's done is done, and what's in the future is there's time enough for that. It'll be there when it comes time to get ready for it. We have to get ready for the present, and I think that's pretty much the creed for every football team. But we got to get ready.
Braves football coming up against Mississippi Valley. Will be on the air at 3:30. Kickoff at 4 o'clock, Jay Hopson. We're talking about it during the break, kind of a late kickoff at home. but an opportunity there to get some evening football in. And we will see you on next Monday, as we have a picture to take here before you leave, Coach. We've got a post that we're going to put up on our radio station page. So if you stick around for...
This is going to be one ugly picture.
No. Nah. You see, I'm just a little bit appropriately.
Right. If we bring Jamario in here, it'll be a triple threat, man. Only faces only a mother can love.
Well, Coach, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm glad that, like you said, these 2 road trips out of the way. It's tough when you're on the grinder of the road, but I'm glad to be at home for a few weeks. And let's get them. Let's get to 2-1.
Okay, Charles, appreciate it.
That's Braves head football coach Jay Hopson on the Jay Hopson Radio Show. Don't forget, folks, our first home game of the year on Saturday at 4 o'clock. We will be on the air at 3:45 with the All-Corn pregame show. Good pregame coming up. Cedric Tillman, Judge Cedric Bush expected to join me in the booth. We're speedy recovery to Dr. David Crosby. He called me last week. He threw his back out. He's going to be out for a little bit, so we wish him a speedy recovery. Judge Cedric Bush will be with me, as well as Cedric Tillman on the sideline. So a busy week coming up here as the Braves take on Mississippi Valley with the Hall of Fame induction. And of course, 15 members of the A-Club Hall of Fame will be inducted on Friday night at the Vicksburg Convention Center. That'll do it for the Jay Hopson Radio Show. For our producer, Jamario Brooks, I'm Charles Edmond on the All-Corn Football Radio Network. We'll talk to you next Monday night. So long.